that all the people on the east side of the street are going to leave. And the people like myself that are located on the west side next to the bayou, they're going to generally stay in place. Okay. The implication is that the wells on Sportsman's Drive, which are roughly 300 feet apart, Texas Brine is going to have near infinite flexibility to put additional wells. And I don't think anybody's going to come in and say put a well down every 60 feet, but the fact of the matter is there's going to be plenty of real estate that they own by the end of the year to go to that other option before we would go to long-term dewatering.
Which would eventually, hopefully, be removed down the road.
What would be removed?
Any wells put in this area.
Oh, yeah.
So what we're saying, Bob, is that if they need to put them, we know we need them, let's put them, in my opinion. We know that once they get the gas out, it might be 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, they'll be gone eventually.
Yes, that's right.
So,
eventually they will quit flowing.
But you're making an assumption that the east side is going to be a productive area. And you know that with the installation of ORW 51 that it's not very productive on the east side of the street. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that.
Well, yeah,
That's better than
I hear
any
you.
way you look at it.
I hear you.
Well, you can put it in my front yard instead of my
Well,
back yard.
I just want to make a point that there's,
I'm good with it being.
I understand what he's saying on the east side, but it may not be a productive area.
Let me ask you this, what would have to be done just to show how much gas there is left? Another seismic? thing,
The
or
technology that Texas Brine has used is CPT.
what? No, it's not showing the volume though.
But they calculate that knowing what the depth of gas is, they
Well,
can
then why do we
calculate.
have to wait for that big seismic profile to be done? Where finally Dr. Hecox came out with that figure of 45 million.
That was where you were looking at were you talking about, that was Don Marlin's interpretation on that? He wouldn't be, that kind of seismic would not be able to spot the the amount of gas you have in the shallow area. That spot's like
Just the
what they call commercial levels, stuff that, the amount that an oil and gas company would be interested in if it's drilling a well. It's not going to pick, what you have under the community now since the start is, it wouldn't be enough to make it commercial if it was just a natural formation, but it's way too much for us to feel comfortable with under your houses.
But just to follow that question, and maybe this will answer it. If you notice that as we went along, Dr. Hecox refined his model and gave a new prediction. His early model was just based on some of the PDK logs that were old wells and so forth to know where the aquifer were and where the up dips in the aquifer were. As they did more investigation, that model was refined as you got more data points, and that's when he started refining some of his numbers. So as it went along, that's why the number changed and the model got better.
But at least it gave us some kind of estimate. I mean, for all we know, there may only be 10% of gas left that was originally down there.
Possibly.
I mean, anybody that's been on the bayous riding around anywhere can see the difference in the bubbling. I mean, significant difference. That has to give y'all some kind of indication of how much less there is than there was.
There are all those indicating points, and that well depletion, the bubbling, however, is still going to require some scientific data for them to go out and do some work activities to see exactly what it is.
Okay, we waited for some more data then.
I don't think even with more. Let's face it, they didn't know, we didn't know. It was a guessing game. A lot of it was scientific, but it never been seen. So, really, what you just said, the bubbling is down a lot, almost. If I had to guess, it's 80% going. That's just my
It sure
opinion.
looks like it.
Okay.
It sure looks
So,
like it.
we're headed in the right direction. I feel comfortable with the test. My opinion, just kidding.
I think,
No continuous dewatering, as far as I'm concerned, just like Bob said. But testing, yeah, not a problem.
I personally don't see any problem with 600 gallons.
Well,
But-
my suggestion is when the wells stop venting, we do that 600-gallon test, and then we see if the wells are done. And if they're not, well, then I gotta go back to the drawing board and figure out where that gas is.
Yeah. As of right now, all of them in the subdivision here, and I'm not, maybe on the other side, the ones that are still flowing, you're not gonna test them until they.
Well, we have no wells flowing north.
None?
None of them are flowing in Everdeen. The only wells are the ones here below Sportsman's Paradise and a few out west.
The gas that was coming up from there was coming up from here through a 30-foot seam,
Flowing out.
going that way, yeah.
But,
They never did, get much out of it, well,
and just a reminder, you know, these pressure monitoring well trend charts all show that it's headed down and it's starting to flatten out. Now, I don't know if that's a 30-day or a 90-day or 100, like I said, my gut instinct says months, not years. But we're gonna vent the wells until they no longer vent, and then if it's okay with you, we're gonna do this test to see if they're done. And if they're done, good. If they're not, I gotta do more work and figure out where the gas is.
One question I have is, you know, the ice chest and the bayou for the water, are y'all doing an ice chest in the bayou for the gas? I mean, is the gas recharging like the water recharges the aquifer?
Based upon the fact that the wells water in, the water is replacing gas. You know, that's the
Deductive reasoning.
when we get to a point that a well has depleted, every well, I mean, if we went out and opened up the choke on these wells, real quickly, they draw water in and stop it. We keep throttling back the rate at which they vent to make sure that we don't water in the well, so we only want to vent the gas as long as we can to get as big areas covered. But at the end of the day, what we find on the other wells that we have done the testing, and what we see on every well, once it depletes, it's replaced by water.
After you close in a well, do you have a set amount of time you like that well to stay there to see if it builds up more pressure?
Good question, Mike. Right now, Texas Finance proposed for phase 4 shut-in for 6 weeks. And if it builds up pressure at that point, then you go ahead and test it. Just slow the gas, to take it back.
got many ass whips along here. You think I hate to leave? My ass are all spread out along here.
You know,
The gas will be here forever. They didn't get the gas from them. That didn't come from them. Gas in the ground. My father was drilling all over for a long time, was drilling. The gas is down here. They had a rig when they come in before this happened. He's gonna drill all the gas behind us, on our side.
2 years before the
Two-
sinkhole,
before the
somebody
sinkhole.
gave me $800 to let me drill on my property.
That's right.
Drill.
Because the oil and gas is down there. You on the edge of a dome, where you think oil and gas is side? You gonna have that.
Is there anybody in opposition or object to the 600 gallon per minute
I think
dewatering
that's a
capacity?
smart idea.
Anybody object to that?
Wait, 600 gallons per minute?
600 gallons total
Per well.
dewatering capacity.
1 hour test.